declines the offer, but it is her boss, so she sent out to me anyhow. Don't worry, Mr. President will be there to greet you. This is also why you don't fraternize with your superiors. Yes, power is sexy, but it's not worth it in the end. Flying with novice Eric guy over here, which is also a nightmare, they finally get to the hospital as they take Kelly to the autopsy room to examine the guy and then find the tooth that was lodged in him. Deducing that it must be reptilian, it also is a fossil. Uncovering the FNG guide, she asks about the attack. It went on for only a few seconds, so she's pretty much like completely convinced now she needs to go to the lake. Nobody apparently lives near the lake except an old couple, but that's about it. So depleting what's left of the ozone layer, Kelly then sprays aerosol to get rid of some bugs near her, as then she spots the president. A marriageable man all the way out here? What are the odds? They're both sarcastic too. Wow. So there's an exchange that goes over about as well as barebacking the $5 hooker, which typically is how all my interactions with any girlfriend I've ever had.
This library is here for a reason.
How I think I identified potential. So he calls her ma'am a few times, so she threatens to sue him over that. I would definitely get sued. I'm from the South. That's like an impossible challenge for me. So Burnett comes out and asks something. I don't know. I wasn't listening. And then the cop shoots his shot, 2024, but it's a big swing and a miss. Don't worry, fella. Same. Many of the women that I've talked to in Huntsville lose immediate interest when I tell them I do YouTube for a living. Even more so when I tell them what it's actually about. My God, it is a classic out here. So, heading out to the lake in a small, crappy boat, when something is literally biting people in half, they stop over at a couple's house, except it's single as it's her, it's just her. And this is Betty White, God bless. So her husband apparently backed out of his mortal contract, which we all do eventually, as Betty White literally admits to having taken out her husband. Bruh. Again, hopefully my future wife does the same for me. He insisted, apparently, that he wanted to be taken out, so she ended him, and then hit him in the head with a skillet, and then buried him on the property. She admits to this, and nobody investigates it, like, at all. They just sort of leave. Okay, guys, bang up job on the police work. So Kelly now realizes they have to camp out there in tents, toilets, no beds, and according to the sheriff, they forgot to pack a feminine napkins with those. So they continue to make fun of her for being from New York, which is totally appropriate, which I'm going to Boston here, like, tomorrow. I'm sure I will be made fun of. So as they stop, they find a moose head. And in fact, did you know the only natural predator to a moose is an orca whale? They will dive down to eat kelp, and then orcas will literally hunt them. Real facts that sound incredibly fake. So she says,
Really?
and a fight ensues. As, like, she just straight assaults her officer. This is a bit alarming to them as they get some more deputies out there because they're going to need a bigger boat. So they show Kelly to her tent as then, she's going to get her own. It's actually not that bad. The other cop tries to nope out of there as Kelly asks if men go all deliverance in the wilderness. Not really. Usually what we do is just make like a bunch of firewood and burn stuff, drink some beer, and occasionally go 8 mode running through the forest in full tactical gear if it's a full moon. That's pretty much about it. So Mr. President starts making his move on Kelly through sarcastic flirting as a helicopter now arrives. And oh no, it's Hector Sear. Does that name mean anything to you? Well, it should. He's here to investigate the crocodile situation. They ask how a crocodile could be in Maine, which is a pretty appropriate question, I guess. But back in my hometown, we actually had an alligator someone released. His name was Fairfield Frank. Dude was huge. Someone released it like way back, like 10, 15 years ago. I'm not even really sure if we caught it yet. So it does happen. But in this instance, I believe it is really just a totally different event based on like context clues that we hear throughout the movie. And Hector says he's there to help them find it. Why would anyone want to swim with crocodiles? That's just beyond me. So they set out in tiny canoes, like really small crafts, with something that they assume to be a giant crocodile literally biting off the bodies of moose. Very good. As they scan, they eventually stop as Hector's like, ooh, I heard something. So they discuss how a crocodile can even survive up here. As long as the nostrils don't freeze, they can breathe air.
Welcome to AFK Journey, the best RPG for all players. If you're an adventurer, you can't miss it. You can explore caves,
I
unlock
expect this would fetch a
and
fair
discover
sum
treasures
market.
in villages,
Greetings.
canyons,
Welcome to the
jungles,
Guild
and
Hall.
beaches, gradually unveiling
Here we
story.
conduct
If
all
you're a
manner of
novice worker,
procedures
you
pertaining to
can't miss
vocations.
AFK Journey.
If there is aught I
Even
may
if
assist you
you're
with,
by the end
simply
before
say the
work,
word.
you can still claim AFK rewards.
Have you found any of the items
Boosting
we
your power
discussed,
and filling your
perchance?
inventory with weapons and equipment, which allows you to clear stages easily. There are also resonance crystals, which assist in upgrading your newly unlocked hero to the highest level, making strategic team matching stress-free. If you're a hardcore RPG player, you can't miss AFK Journey. You can choose from dozens of explicitly created heroes, including mages, warriors, and rogues. And you can enjoy various modes, such as mazes, arenas, and special stages. Come and experience it now.
Download now. survive and not drown. And that's usually about, I believe, if the water reaches 45 degrees, they will actually go unconscious. So this is just to stop them from, sinking and drowning. So this is something that is rather important that was said, which we will kind of tie into the timeline of events that may have taken place. Looking forward, a bunch of white perch then start freaking out as they are scared. The canoe is then immediately yeeted into the air. See, you needed a bigger boat than that. So Hector tells them that they need to keep their legs still as they climb back into the canoe, and they don't listen to this at all. Nobody actually saw anything as the crocodile never attacked, which was great for the plot. Kelly reports back that the mission status is completely not sick. So as they regroup, another officer tells the sheriff to come over as they find a human toe. So why not ask the old lady who literally admitted to murder just a few minutes ago about the human toe near a lake? I'm just saying. They now know, due to worms and bite patterns apparently, that they have a crocodile just from one toe. Yes, seems about right. Now, where did I put that herpetology degree? That night, everyone is dancing in a tent going all deliverance while two officers dig a hole. It's just what you do. They are setting up a trap as they were paid $500 by Hector, and hey, you know what? I'd take it too. As we move into the tent, wow, there's some amazing dance moves. The sheriff then breaks into the party and then says, hey, we're here on official business, so everybody go to your tents. Hector explains the hole is out there because crocodiles like to come up on land and are attracted to noise. The sheriff thinks
Forgive
that,
me,
well, Hector,
but I'm afraid we are not
that
accepting
night,
registration for warriors or
Kelly goes
sorcerers
to
at
hit on
this
the
time.
president again.
You
She
see,
remarks how flat
as
the
we
water
currently
is.
have
It's
no
almost
archer staves or
plastic,
great swords
if
on
you will.
hand, we
Tin
are
Smith
unable to
sees
outfit
the
new
flat
members.
stone. Kelly is then told to stay on shore, but she doesn't want to.
And we cannot
He
simply
says
purchase more,
paleontologists are not
as the
just
delivery of
surveying
arms
the
intended for the
crocodiles,
local
technically
armory and
correct.
other
So
guilds
she
in this
tells him,
domain was
yeah, my
plundered by
ex-boyfriend's sent me
goblins,
here
so
to
regrettably
hunt
I
for giant
cannot
crocodiles
assist you.
in Maine. I don't really want to
Unless
go
you
back.
were to
Looking for
prefer
that
a weapon
rebound action
yourself,
was a
that
classic blunder.
Let me see.
Actually, I don't know,
What
maybe
else
it's
can
not.
I tell
It
you
just depends
about
on really what your long-term goals are. So he tells her, all right, 7 a.m., you're allowed to
Methinks
join in the
Roderick
crocodile
will
hunt.
be able
Hopefully
to tell
another
you all
head
just
doesn't
the
get thrown
story.
at her.
He runs
So
the
as they settle
local
in for the
armory.
night,
May
they hear a
fortune
band
smile upon you, sir.
Sheriff then gets out of his
Must
tent to go
find out
take a
how
leak,
to
and as he
procure what we
does, he
require.
hears rustling.
Then
It's
our
never a good
search can
sign.
begin in
Then here's a
earnest.
twig break. Looking into the dense underbrush, he pulls out man's answer to everything. It was man who was made in God's image, not you, creature. Pulling back a limb, it was just Hector setting spring traps. So everyone then wakes up to investigate, and then they threaten Hector for laying traps that could literally save them, saying that, oh, if you interfere, you're out. He's the crocodile guy. Maybe listen to him at least a little, I guess. But then Hector ruins all credibility by saying crocodiles are divine conduits. Yeah, mission abort. I'm listening to him. No. So the sheriff then falls into a trap that was dug earlier, probably, totally take himself out. Nice. So the next morning, bright and early, they then head out on a small boat again to look around and scuba. There were guys who are literally bitten in half, and they want to get back into the water. So they get some, crocodile baby hatchling sounds ready so that the crocodile will come to them. Hector says they don't attack under the water, except for that guy who's bitten in half to start, but this just seems like a really stupid idea, guys. So Kelly wishes the president luck as they both fall back. The reason you don't fall forward is because if you fall forward, Hector then insults the sheriff before going in. They lower the speaker to produce the hatchling sounds and take their positions. While down there, they find the moose has been completely gutted. Kelly continues talking to the sheriff about how Hector isn't mental.
Have you a spare moment?
Well, he's just sure it's a crocodile.
I have an eye for people,
really
and
sure.
my
You've seen every
instincts.
crocodile
I'm
in
in
the
a bit
world.
of a quandary,
Maybe even a couple
you see.
twice. Sometimes even
I'm to
calls
be
them at
gone
home.
for a week.
Swimming in the
Fear
same
not.
area, the president
I
is
only-
the first to
I'd be
spot a
much
giant tail
obliged
moving
if you'd
by,
simply
and that would be
consent
where I
willingly.
walk on water because my soul
Then
would leave
come
my
on
body.
by it.
As they then wait at the top, the sheriff has already called it, but the line then gets pulled, which then starts pulling the boat, knocking Kelly backwards into the water. The reason Kelly... So time to start swimming towards land, gal. They then cut the anchor line as let go of the anchor, and then while they're trying to get the motor started, White Perch gets scared as it starts going towards Kelly. They
Well
get
met,
going
sir.
and then punch it
Forgive
right
my
as it's
presumption,
under her. She
but
gets
were
on
you
the
the
boat,
one
is
who
pulled
gave my...
up
I
before it
thought
gets to her,
so.
but just kidding, it was the president.
She's
He
not
gets in
stopped
next
that
as
girl's
Kelly asks
always
where
running
Hector
off
is.
on some
As he starts his
fool's
ascent,
errand.
they then
Now
spot
listen,
Bubbles in the
'tisn't
distance.
much,
They head over to
but
grab
I'd
him as one of
fain
the
offer
officers
you a
pulls the
discount
speaker,
on...
and as he does, good lord, the crocodile bites off his head in one clean chunk. Ouchies. Oh, you probably wouldn't feel that. Because it was so... Okay, how exactly did this happen? I mean, I guess maybe it chopped down on his head, but the way
Oi,
the mouth
friend.
was open...
Klaus,
more of a
set fair
gillet.
warning.
Did you hear that voice crack? Good
Goblins
lord.
are behind
That's
these
more
ox-cart
of a
raids, I've
kill
since
scene
learned.
action
No
than just-
doubt
I don't
they're
know,
from the
I don't think it
tenement.
would happen that way.
Their
But then
leg
again,
do
I'm
be
just kind of
careful.
a biologist. So
Losing my wares
getting
for
back to
good would
land,
make
they
me
load him
sore.
up as the stadies come to
But
hang
no
out.
sack
The
of
president
gold.
fills out the report. He asks if Kelly's okay, but probably not. Might need some therapy for that one. U.S. Wildlife has been heading in, and they just want everyone to sit tight for the time being. I mean, Kelly, you didn't really know Officer Burke, but just kidding, that is completely traumatizing. Hector then goes to apologize to the sheriff as he wishes he knew Officer Burke better. Hector then tells him about a recurring nightmare where he's also been hit. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say Hector's probably like
No
2
purchases
cents
to
too
be
short
made
of
today, I
picnic.
see.
The sheriff
Here
then
you are,
immediately
sir.
gets got in
From
another
me to
trap,
you.
which made me laugh. Because you can't be too sad for too long in the 90s. So Kelly then asks the sheriff if it's okay to pull him down, and it was really just a counterweight. The sheriff then runs after Hector with a big stick. So as they approach the water's edge, like a big old bear comes charging out of nowhere, and as he does, it seems a little bizarre for a bear, but it's almost immediately grabbed by the crocodile and dragged to its fate. For some reason, this is now like, oh, it must be a crocodile. You guys saw Officer Burke get his head bit off by a crocodile. Why is it now all of a sudden, oh, I guess it is a crocodile? Also, bears do not typically like humans or human noises. Why would it do that? Anyways, it doesn't matter because this now has convinced the sheriff as he finally agrees it's a crocodile. It's an Asian crocodile. Indo-Pacific to be exact. They think this thing is around 30 feet long. Hector says it's a miracle of nature, they just can't blow it away. Well, you can actually, but Hector then gets punched despite him knowing karate and being a brown belt. Alright, so now that we have actually seen this thing, to understand what it is doing here and why it is such a large animal, you need to know about specifically Indo-Pacific crocodiles or saltwater crocs. This specific type of crocodile, they're about roughly 23 feet in length and can weigh up to 2,205 pounds. These are essentially dinosaurs of the modern day. And I know someone's going to freak out and tell me, actually, they're not dinosaurs, Roanoke. It's inevitable. It's just a comparison, you nerd. Anyhow, these exist on the planet right now and are second only to the anglerfish in terms of I'd rather these things really not be here with me on this planet, but I can't do anything about it. While 23 feet in length appears to be what has been reported on the maximum size range, this does hint that something else may have happened concerning this crocodile in Lake Placid. Indo-Pacific crocodiles specifically exist around Southeast Asia and are native to this area, which means F's in the chat for my editor. Godspeed, King, fly high. But their range is typically going to be from India all the way to the northern edge of Australia and everything in between. They will actually venture out into open ocean quite regularly, using the ocean currents in order to travel. In fact, there was one individual in Freedom units who traveled about 255 miles in 20 days, or if you want to use, I don't know, what's the rest of the planet using? Some sort of outdated nonsense. 411 kilometers. They don't really move much in order to conserve energy. They'll just use the currents to carry them along. They are a fairly lethargic species,
Might you
so
consider
they just
lightening
kind
your
of
pack,
float as they
Master?
go, and being that they're
Lessening
absolutely
our-
massive
You've come.
creatures, they don't really have
Glad
to worry
to
about
see
much.
you, friend.
Somewhere, at some
what
point in
say
time,
you?
I guarantee it
Would
happened,
you care to
an
live here
epic
in my
battle very
absence?
likely took place between
As
a
I've
giant
said,
saltwater
many
crocodile
thanks,
and a
friend.
great white
I
shark.
knew
It
I could
has to
count
have
on
happened
you.
at some
I'll
point in
stop
this
by
planet's
again.
existence. So regardless of that, strange though, this does not seem to be enough. If we look at the planet
We will
currently
find
with its
much
configuration,
better
for a
rest in an
saltwater
abode
crocodile to get
than
from
out
the
in the
Indo-Pacific
elements,
region,
methinks.
there are literally
Let us make
only
good
like
use
two
of
ways
it
to
while
do
we
it.
can.
And it cannot go so far north
You have my
that it's going
support.
to venture into like Arctic waters because it will freeze due to those temperatures. It could also maybe go like far to the south around South America, but that is a ton of open ocean spanning thousands of miles because it's the Pacific Ocean, so that's going to be a very difficult process. And the other route, it would just literally take it around Africa and then would have to shoot north towards North America. Both? Well, I guess really all three. I'm not really considering the Arctic route to be feasible, so either it has to go around South America, unless it went to the freaking Panama Canal, which, I mean, I don't know, that's not happening. Or it would have to go around Africa. Those are really the only two options that it has. But these routes would be almost virtually impossible for the species to take, as it would make no sense for it to actually make it this far without running across any other suitable area. Not to mention, an inland lake in Maine. How would it choose this location or even just happen upon it? All I'm saying is, given the size of this creature and the location that it was in and how it got there, it makes it very unlikely it just happened to decide to travel one day to this specific area. Not to mention, what we will see later sort of gets rid of this idea rather quickly. Something else had to happen. And for this, we need to take a trip back, like way back, to a time when the surface of the planet looked completely different, but we'll get there momentarily. So they separate for the evening as Mr. President is wounded somehow, as Kelly can fix his wounds. She then patches him up as they talk about the bear's face when it got grabbed by a crocodile. My face would probably look about the same. So Mr. President does the smolder to her as it actually starts working. Like, you know what the smolder is. I've used it on some women before, too. Surprisingly, it does work. So she starts talking about how this is exciting. So she says, oh, well, we should go to bed. Yes, well, just kind of messes that one up, but they're ready to trauma bond. The best 3 weeks of your life. After that, results may vary. So the first fight is going to be a doozy. Just be prepared for that. Later on, as they didn't watch videos on giant crocodiles, I suppose it's Hector's personal stash, he talks with the sheriff about how crocodiles only have one natural enemy: man. It's absolutely right. Hector then gets asked why the crocodile is even here. And he doesn't really know. I mean, really? You don't think maybe someone could have just brought it over? Absolutely not. So, let's discuss. As we will find out, spoiler, the crocodile is estimated to be roughly about 150 years old. This movie came out in 1999, so this would put it at probably an event that happened in 1849. While not completely infeasible for someone to have just brought it over, it was suggested that nobody has really lived on this lake ever, and while the U.S. got its start on the East Coast, one of the things about Maine is it's still relatively untouched. In fact, it's pretty much stated that this particular area, again, nobody has lived or is living out there except for the old couple that is single now. So, how did this crocodile get there, and based on what we'll see later, what evidence is there to support this? Speculate wildly, because that's why I'm here. We need to go back, bear with me, roughly about 95 million years ago when the surface of the Earth looked completely different. Looking at a map due to continental drift, it was around this time that the North American continent and the Eurasia continent were beginning to drift apart. This opened up a shallow sea in between the two previously joined continents, with many islands and larger land masses in between those two continents. As this drift would continue, eventually the waters would recede and more stable land would remain, and that's going to be Europe, with Asia being way over in the east and North America being far to the west. But what's important to remember is how the continents were structured, and the area of Maine itself would have been inundated with a shallow sea. So, you can see where I'm going. You're a pretty smart person. Well, while this global restructuring
Shall we get some rest then?
which is still happening to this day because it's never really stopped, there existed a specific species of crocodile that is related now to the Indo-Pacific saltwater crocodile. This species, known as Sarcosuchus, which I'm pretty sure I pronounced that correctly, is a distant relative of living crocodiles today, and it was estimated that they could reach up to 29.5 to 31.2 feet and weigh almost roughly 4 tons. That's around 9 to 9.5 meters. Their heads were massive, with lower jaws being a little longer than their upper jaw. And if we look at the crocodile head in Lake Placid, we can see it's not massively noticeable concerning the jaw differences, but the lower jaw itself is a little longer. The point is, we have a species that existed roughly 95 million years ago when North America was separated by a few islands from Asia. The waters were warmer, and here we have this species that was typically relegated to like a desert from what we can tell, but with many similar patterns of entering the water, or at least they were just beginning to exhibit these patterns. What I believe happened is this may have been kind of like a migratory event that went wrong. At some point, an ancient crocodile made the swim island by island, and now it probably just wasn't like a single crocodile, but over successive generations, the habitat would be pushed west from Eurasia. And this is supported in a moment, so actually hang in there. So day 2 of camping, Kelly is having a freak out about ticks, least of your concern. As they find a giant footprint, like Bro C, Jurassic Park affected every single movie in the 90s. Finding the
Though our
crocodile
foes were
lives in
familiar,
is
our
a very
tactics
bad
were
idea.
most
Kelly
novel.
and Independence Day, man,
Was an
not trying to look for print. As
I
Kelly
trust
gets
we've
hit
all
with
inspected
like
our
another
equipment.
random human head,
Come.
you know, as one does in
We've
the
much to be
wilderness.
getting on
Who
with.
is that? I can't tell. Like, I don't know. So probably somebody random. So Kelly decides she doesn't want to be here any longer because she's tired of being
Feeling
hit by
rested,
heads.
I trust?
As they look out, they spot the murderer from earlier bringing a cow out. You know, where a head just happens to be nearby. And also, she's bringing a cow out. Again, like I just said that, but it can't be good. Oh, and there's the crocodile. It's feeding time, baby. Leaving the cow, she drops it off and smacks the cow's butt as the crocodile grabs it and consumes the whole thing. That explains why it's so large, or at least how it's been subsisting all this time. So they go and confront her, and she says, well, I haven't broken any laws. Bro, you admitted to a murder earlier. I think you have. She says she lied because otherwise they would take the crocodile out. She's been feeding it for 6 years at this point. She said that at first they threw it some scraps, but she has no idea how it got here. The sheriff asks if the crocodile took out her husband. She then says that a horse got loose, and the crocodile started coming in, and her husband went to intercede and got eaten. Okay, Grandma's sundowning at this point, so she says it's the crocodile's lake. Over at the helicopter, Hector then lands the rig on Crocodile Cove. Hot Cop says she doesn't like this, so she says, hey, I will bang you if you just get out of here. Tough choice. Gonna have to go with your purpose on this one. It's more attractive anyways. So he rolls backwards off the helicopter because if you roll, Brunette Cop calls in to tell him Hector went swimming as she goes to the edge of the helicopter. No, don't feed yourself to the crocodile. You're so pretty. While Hector is down
If
there,
our
he sees
destination
nothing.
is a
Resurfacing and
distant
looking
one,
around.
travel by
No
ox
thanks.
cart
Continue to see a
might
whole
be
bunch of
worth
nothing. He hears a
considering.
snarl. Turning around,
Walking everywhere
yeah,
is
man.
certainly
He's telling that
tiring.
thing, you're not going to hurt me, but it might hurt you. As it looks at him, he says he feels foolish. No kidding. It's apparently different from the others. So Brunette Cop turns on the helicopter as he slowly swims backwards. Hector continues talking to it, as he's not trying to show any fear, but he definitely crapped his pants in the water. Hector then
There's
takes
a ladder
off his
here.
inflation kit as he goes for it, as he jumps
excellent
into the
find.
helicopter and takes off. But as they do, it grabs the helicopter. Yeesh. Brunette Cop takes a few shots at it as they're able to pull up and get out of there before getting to where he got. Returning back to shore, he's officially grounded because he put a deputy at risk. Hector says that they have no authority over him. I'm pretty sure the cops do. So Kelly then goes to check on him as she asks if he's trying to be taken out by that thing. He has a moment about the crocodile and his dignity and whatnot, and
This
he's like,
ox-cart's
nah,
bound
never
for the
mind, I'm not getting back to that
checkpoint
part.
rest
Smart
town.
move. Mr. President then tells them
I'll
that
not
they
take
need
you
to
anywhere
pack it in
till
as
I've
Fish
had
and Game
my
are going to be
due.
there in 3 hours, as Kelly asks if they're going to try to trap the crocodile. Hector says they're just going to put that thing down, and I mean, arguably, PETA's going to downvote this channel, but that is the correct decision. Hector says that, well, we can just sedate it. Hector then says that this thing has to be at least 150 years old. It migrated from another continent. Technically correct, but probably not this specific one. So they discuss an idea of how to train and net it. Getting a cow, they begin attempting to lure the crocodile onto land. Taking a boat onto the water, oh my god. They then use the helicopter, I guess, to fly the cow over the water and get the crocodile to come up, while the sheriff has got the Ultra Giga Elephant round ready to go. I
Have
don't know
we
what sort of
purchased
round
all
that
that we
is.
require?
Basically a noob tool.
We ought to
So as they
review the
lower the cow in
contents
the
of
water,
our
they get
packs
them to
just
swim.
to be sure.
Begin setting up the net as Betty White starts saying she hopes the crocodile eats all of them. That night, as they go to call it because the cow
I would have preferred not to have to fight those things, but at least I know I am up to the challenge.
Croc is coming. The
must
cow starts
not
swimming
let
again
down
as
our
they start
guard.
drawing the crocodile in. Locking and loading rights and price the Croc surfaces the cow. As they go after it, they hit the crocodile in the belly, administering at least some of the drugs, while Hector straight up drops the cow because he can't fly this thing all of a sudden. Crashing into the water? Nicely done, bro. Totally worth capturing the crocodile, huh? Dropping the tranks, they then go for the force multipliers. Looking out, they can't see Hector. I guess they could just look to the cockpit, but whatever. They tell Hector not to move.
Just yonder
He has
looks
no
to
idea
be
where
a
the
good
croc
spot
is
for
himself.
harvesting
Comes
ingredients.
up as then he falls into
Shall we
water
see
like
if
a
there's
bird.
ought to be found
Coming back
while
on board,
we're
though,
here?
the sheriff then sits in the water, also like a bro. Get out of the water. It comes up at the sheriff, chasing him as they get into a truck and must go faster style. They're taking pot shots as Kelly is once again knocked out of the vehicle, like she has the worst luck. He starts coming after her as they keep taking pot shots at it, but the thing does not care at all. She then gets yeeted into the water like an inch from shore, get up and run around the thing.
We are none
but
of
as she
us
sits
alike in
there,
location.
Hector then starts beckoning her
One
over
should
as the
think
crocodile
we'll
then
be able
turns
to
around
counter
and
whatever
hits her.
comes our way.
The sheriff
Now,
doesn't have a clean
what
shot,
might
though,
that
as
be?
Hector tells Kelly to go
We
under
ought to take
because
a closer
apparently
look.
it won't attack under the water. She then swims around the tree and loses it for a moment, but then gets stuck in a tree root, naturally. As the Croc continues to bite, it gets stuck on the tree, which then frees her. Actually, like the SpongeBob meme, I really thought they couldn't attack underwater. They can attack underwater. Then she swims up as Hector grabs her by the wood. Coming through back to the helicopter, the Croc gets stuck as they make it toward the shore. And as it tries to go towards the shore, the sheriff says, oh, it's something. Hector says, it's trapped, it's possible.
You have my
Which
protection.
coming up there and finally falls asleep, or at minimum starts like chilling out, like just
When Todd, be sure to
so the
avoid
sheriff
open
is now
flame.
presented with a quick time event to destroy or not destroy. Paragon or Renegade. Mr. President then goes to take out the fake out, just rinse it instead. Drugs are needed, but that should stop the flames. From the fake out, there were two! Hector then gets grabbed, somehow survives, and then they just straight up twist him. Oh well, not
Let
trying to
my magic
happen. So
do your
finally the
weapon
feds
with furious element.
always as if they always last.
Onslaught and the behemoth.
As if they hand the reptile over. And also
fast
that
and
house
true,
fire.
and our quarry shall
Soon as
fall.
Hector says to the crocodile forward, President and Kelly decide to stay back together. Attack at the campsite. As Kelly says, she wants to stay a little longer. And the cops totally, well, they see the Mr. President saying, oh, they're anyways, getting denied is a great feeling, to tell you that. He says, well, I guess if I'm ever over in New York, I'll look you up. And then finally, like, approaches the truck and says, I just don't think I couldn't make a move. Yes, women are 100% attracted to insecurity. False. So anyways, they decide to go to the bar. The next morning, I'm sure they're getting inside out to the dock where she's already in the water. And she starts getting bored. twice.
Seems to be how it is.
Crocodile.
I cannot see their range to our
The
advantage.
whole thing. I think that would really interesting. So, what is the deal here? This species migrated here with local minerals from what we can tell. First, we should assume that somehow this crocodile got here, was getting this across the planet, going around multiple continents, drifting in vast open oceans, moving inland from the ocean somehow, and ending up in the sea. Personally, I don't like it. I think it's been happening a long time ago, which has now led to the species essentially getting stuck here. A long time ago, due to those shallow seas, as mentioned in North America, that we also had all over the coast, this specific species is stranded here over these years. Crocodiles, on average, live between 70 to 100 years due to what appears to be slower metabolisms. We have actually an argument out there that they can live way longer, like tortoises. They can survive colder temperatures and freezing waters by putting their noses above the waterline so that they do not drown as ice forms around the nose, which also helps keep them upright. Presumably, every winter, this is what would happen with this crocodile as it survives. But then, you may be asking yourself, well, sure, a line of ancient crocodiles could live here, but wouldn't genetic diversity be? The answer is...
My curative magic is not
crocodiles are really strange.
right
In
now.
Costa Rica, the first known occurrence to man is known. The female crocodile can herself asexual genesis, and they only lay about 14 eggs. Eggs made by the female involvement, no contribution to the structure. The other intelligent also it was a genetic replica of
Perhaps we have tied
most
them
of
out.
the 14 eggs.
We must not give them a chance to recover.
A focused attack won't end this first.
While one egg did contain a fetus of crocodile. It should also be noted, they waited until they knew they
I
weren't going
grant
to
you
hatch.
fire's blade.
Oh, eggs. So for the strangers in the process,
I am saved. Thank you,
because this
Arena.
is like an isolated place away from others on the kind, maybe that a female got isolated from the area named the water trees. Genesis, they would then lay eggs that would become the next generation. Now, the question here is, as far as we know, individuals and animals, nobody's trying to persist. Because of this, the crocodiles were born in the lake together, likely with their mates made different genetic background, but would never find it. Because of this, the males would just sort of hang out, and females would never reproduce and naturally they became part of the Genesis themselves. This may also help explain why there are also so many on the lake. As stated, out of the 14 eggs, only one actually fetus in it. But this together, this process is not very efficient, and even then, is a result of some very unique circumstances. As a result, the young that we have seen maybe what's left over of like hundreds of clutches of eggs in the lake. Slow, this process is very difficult for the amount of what is going to impact this is if the crocodile receives very rapidly growing to the size of their trajectory in its position to, whereas if they're left with their devices, they will remain much smaller. But it's also kind of interesting to discuss how exactly did they survive. Because we know 65 million years ago, the giant asteroid that hit the Yucatan Peninsula obviously may have caused some problems up there. But being that crocodiles have existed places that have been already, and being that they was relatively far from the Yucatan Peninsula and the lake, they may have been shielded from the effects, and they may have just like they were already some cold outside hibernation, and given that their metabolisms are already slow, it's allowed them to
Best this behemoth.
rebound
Do
while
whatever
they
you
were
can
still
to block us off
survive.
balance.
Let me out with you guys. You think the species that just dropped off here in the ancient culture?
Allow me. This hurt shall fall by my hand.
Last week, we talked about a guy who went on a hike, and then for like 15 months, just disappeared. He showed back up and had no recollection of what he was doing for those 15 months. Very strange. So you think it's your astronaut well, next week I think our astrophysicists and guest dancers, as well as our scientists, Chadley enjoy our scientific explanations of horror movies, Go to 23, Lax, Lucy and Dragon, Metric System, and Crash Panda and Trenchcoat. And to the rest of my patrons, I appreciate you guys as well. You're a long way towards keeping this channel running. It's greatly appreciated. Alright, so that's going to do it for me. I hope everyone enjoyed. And we'll see y'all in the next one.
We have no means of exploiting our enemy's weakness.
Are we ready? It's been lies that have been told. Oh, here we are. And, oh boy.
The drama, girl.
This is so This is my
Imagine, if you will, you stumble across a channel where the content creator has completely lost control of his life and potentially his own mind. Now imagine you start watching a video over one of the most money laundering schemes known to man, right next to the lost pastor. You open your eyes. You're not imagining this. It's real life. You didn't want this. You didn't choose this. But luckily, some douche on the internet made this popular. Nah, I'm sure he's a cool guy. In the great state of Hawaii, that this movie will have you believe is really just a small uninhabited island that nobody knows about for some reason, things are looking rather Jurassic Parky if 45 tons of crack were released into the water supply. As a film is taking place inside of a film, Almeda, an animal would start
I'll
stalking the
gather
rivers
this.
that
It
run
might be of
nearby.
use.
Able to move faster than a fleeing minivan, but not swim faster than a boat going 5 miles per hour, a hybridized creature would begin stalking and taking out people left, right, and center. As a small group of inept defenders begin to realize that something is hunting everyone, eventually they attempt to take the fight to the creature itself. But the question still remains, what exactly is this thing? How did it come about? And shouldn't it be completely hindered by its own size? Well, I'm glad you asked all those questions because, what in the name of all is holy is this movie? So today, let's cover Piranaconda and try to discern, if anything, how this creature even came to be. Our first episode is sponsored by Opera GX. We're going to the browser and download Opera GX today by going to operagx.gg/Roanoke or click the link in the description box below. Opera has been innovating the browser space for over 25 years at this point and was built by bringing together exceptional international teams of developers, coders, researchers, marketers, and support. I did an integration actually a while back with Opera GX, I think in January, I believe, and since then I have personally switched over from Chrome to Opera. Like, it wasn't even intentional. I just saw, like, the extra features and I was hooked. For instance, mod music playing in the background in my
What
browser.
say we
Whenever I use
settle
it,
our stomachs
dedicated
with a
themes,
few hours
colorings,
sleep?
as well as wallpapers.
Good sleep
and
is the
tab
key
closing
to a good
sounds to
adventure.
alert me whenever I inadvertently accidentally close one. And I also can, like, enable and disable these at will. And now Opera has new features. Opera GX's generative AI integration. Prompts help you summarize an entire article, find related content, or shorten the text, and potentially even just flat out do your homework
Good
for you,
morrow,
though you
everyone.
should be doing that yourself.
Come,
It's all
we've
accessible
much
when
to
you
be
highlight
getting on
text or
with.
directly from the
Feeling
address
rested,
bar. It
I
also has
trust.
ChatGPT on the sidebar. With just one click, you can initiate a conversation with the AI to help you generate ideas, summaries, or itineraries as we come closer and closer to being a symbol of destinations. You can also find the chat site on the sidebar.
I grant you roaring flame.
Running back to video games is not really popular. So the way to work up your web browser today, by Opera GX, by going to operagx.gg/warrior and start doing awesome browser today. Looking up our story today, we understand that this has to be the most ridiculous thing raised by weather festival as we zoom into Earth, somewhere in the rockets. I'm pretty sure these specific elements from Jurassic Park that there's no way this
Pull back,
it
and
involves
I will heal you with my
footage
magic. Wait
but
right
the
there.
copyright doesn't exist. See, that's the beach where the youngling was killed. This song was also made successful in this movie.
Well done.
Absolutely mad. As a helicopter flies through, it points them to the same field where they decorated the film chasing down
Well
dinosaurs.
done, master.
This has to be on purpose. Also, this is future Roanoke. It's totally on purpose. This movie is legitimately unhinged. As the group gets out, they tell the pilot to stay there and that they will be right back. As it really almost turns into a you go that way, I'll go home scenario. And something tells me I don't believe they'll actually be coming back. So they approach a dirty stream as we jump over to a frog, just sort of vibing out for a few minutes. And this is also like prawn levels of acting and not 100% report.
This
They
is
find
generally
eggs.
used
Lisa
as a
Ann
material.
says they were right. We found the eggs.
I'm
They also
sure we'll
intimidate her
find a
for telling
purpose
Paul
for
that
it
the
in due
non-clever
time.
girl approached the waterfall. They continue filming the eggs. Professor pulls out a literal food storage container, which I have this exact one in my pantry right now, as they hear something splash in water. NCG gets almost immediately got as he's turned into a blood cloud with Bruce Ann next up on the list. No, haha, don't get eaten, you're so pretty. Pilot then hears the yells
My
and
word,
growls,
this ox
and he
cart has
decides
been
I'm getting out of
destroyed.
here, so gets the chopper up and
Wrought
running,
by the
because
hands of
Piranaconda is
brigands,
inbound.
or the
Heroically
claws.
leaving, he decides to cover, rather than,
I am attentive and
ascending
loyal,
getting out
and
of there,
prefer to remain by your
Piranaconda
side.
attacks the helicopter,
In
destroying
battle,
it,
I shall follow
leaving the
your
last
lead
guy
and
to just sort of,
prioritize support.
annoyingly rub his face. How did you survive? He was right there with everyone else. And as we will find out, the egg is sort of important. So after more stock footage of flying over Dinosaur Island, music telling us let me out, this is not a dance. We now meet the yellow bikini walking through the woods, affectionately known as blonde victim number 3. Bruce calls out to her and asks if she's
The time of our
swimming,
parting
as
has
she
come.
sees something rustling
Thank
in
you
the
for
bushes.
everything.
Are
Bruce
you fit
then
to
hangs
travel?
up as this dude in the mask just randomly appears. She recognizes the machete man and then runs off. Again, this whole movie is just an intro plot to an internet movie. So the guy is also kind of like keeping up with her somehow by slowly lumbering
Let my
forward, which is
magics
pretty
grant you an
impressive.
elemental boon.
He then hides behind a bush as he appears behind her. They call cut as the director tells him, this was terrible. Yes, I would tend to agree with this one. Rose then answered for a call sheet tomorrow, 5 a.m., baby. So Mr. Handsome Stuntman approaches Rose and starts hitting on her as they agree to go to the bar and try to make a 5 a.m. wake-up call, which is always a recipe for disaster. The problem is you hit it up. You never go for a good routine. It's like 8 hours later, it's 3 a.m. You're like, so, yeah. Anyways, Stuntman then approaches somebody similar.
I see you've been drenched.
Look there. Veronica approaches and she does not see this thing warping into her wrist at all. It's all over her, which is positions. As she takes off running, as it attacks her leg off, as she literally forgets to evoke as her leg loss and just goes to this thing. It really is a big deal. And she goes and does right through it.
My curative magic, so it can't approach. Wait a minute.
We've got dots and dots and we've got dots. We're no big deal here because it's irrelevant to the problem conduct. There's nothing extraordinary about the Rose as he does the smolder on her, and again, smolder works, but you can't just go smoldering all the time. Otherwise, you'll just look like a complete dork. There's very specific instances, like when you say something stupid, that's when you hit the date. So she tells them about how creatures are living in the waters, the river devils. One was spotted last week, and she says she believes it as future blonde victim number 3 asked the stuntman to come put some sunblock on. Now, you're probably wondering what happened to blonde victim number 1. Due to budget constraints, she was cut from the movie. So Mr. Schwab then walks over, and he puts absolutely nothing on her back. He really has taken a hot minute to do this, over 10 minutes, as some suggest, as Rose continues to look at a giant snake. Got a computer. That snake. Crazy. Showing another random woman pulling up to the dock. I'm sure everyone has names, but if the plot is basically at the level of prawn, I'm sorry, names must be attributed to that as well. I don't make the rules, I just work. I'm really starting to wonder who actually makes the rules around here. So she heads over to the waterfall and starts stripping. Heading into the water, she did leave her pants on. It's not a weird thing, it's just I didn't expect this movie to use any amount of restraint. As then she looks up and we get this chef's kiss blocking maneuver as someone was definitely scared and a professional as she's immediately then beaten. Blood drains down the river, most certainly not from Pompey's attacking the lead singer of Rammstein. Why do you ask? So we now meet this random dude, super excited about future blonde victim number 3. He then tells his girlfriend, or wife, or caretaker, or whoever she is, blonde victim number 5, whatever she is, I don't know, that he will be right back. And then all he does is just roll over. Why did you say that? Also, why are you wearing tennis shoes and socks at the pool? Coincidentally, he also owns a Corvette. Also, the woman next to him, she's wearing real high heels. The ones you either bust out
We
in
must
dates,
not let
club,
down our guard.
home for reasons.
I grant you
Yes,
fire's
the interaction is very human.
Well.
They do. I noticed. So that's what it is. She's the one that she is stuntman, still here rubbing sunblock on her. And half an hour later, my man said that he got in just a minute. So, this dude's girlfriend is pretty upset as the guy goes to the picture with the squad. What do? The stuntman then reaches out as Pompey and Brain made the connection that he was supposed to be hitting on Rose the whole time. And he only made that realization during when they were taking the picture. This man, since the timing is somewhat quiet. Jumping over to a Spanish guy in a tank top, he says that they are all there. As the stuntman then goes to talk to Rose, but she walks off. This activated a really old memory of this happening to me as well. Spring break 2012. Man, what a time. Then I had to ride back to Birmingham, Alabama, all the way from Panama City with this girl in complete silence. Tried turning on the radio, turned it off. Let me tell you guys, wonderful learning experience. At a random factory where a fight between the T-Rex and the Raptor definitely didn't take place, the guy from earlier who found the eggs climbs into the dump truck. Immediately finding keys, he then gives up as a new woman approaches, brandishing a pellet dispenser. Blonde victim number 6 tells him to move, as he's been brought over to the Timu version of the Mafia. Is that joke getting old yet? Probably, but we must persist. They then give him a chair to sit in. How nice of them. It's a professor of herpetology. He tells them about the creature out there in the jungle. The leader immediately references what he's talking about and then laughs at him. The professor goes on to say it's evolutionary mutation. Essentially, they plan on kidnapping the professor, though, so he's now officially to be a ransom as he's brought into the factory. So I guess he just sort of hangs out. Also, this group just loves ransoming people. This is their shtick. No idea why. Loading up the hardest of vehicles, the minivan, Blonde victim number 6 decides to look at the case and finds the egg covered in green goo. Technically speaking, it's jello, but you get the point. So anywho, we jump over to another and I wonder what's about to happen to them. They're talking about a flower fish rejuvenation properties and as they walk, the lead woman...
Let my magic imbue your weapon with the fury of the elements.
Well, I suppose it is Hawaii. Not exactly a lot of manning and coverage up there. So they continue their search as they find ghost birds. Ilani then goes out of there completely uninterested in what they're doing as they cut away the flower. They then hear a scream as they call out to them. They go back to the flowers because research over living, as the piranha then coils around them. And then just straight blood clouds both of them. This thing is racking up a body count you would not believe. And all it eats, apparently, are hot women. Well, except for those two guys at the beginning, so hot women and two guys. So we get dead meat in here to watch this so we can figure out exactly. So, Stuntman then apologizes to Rose for rubbing sunblock on Blonde victim.
I shan't let you
You must remain calm. Be lost.
Not for me, but I get the yes for him. Rose then forgives him as they are criminally enslaved. Blonde victim number 2 is
I'm in.
dead. I'm sure that as they're supposed to begin to at some point, which they probably need more of that in this movie. Stuntman then puts on a mask as they start filming. We really need to explain this. It puts off a very strange vibe. Like something's about to fall out any minute. So the director then gets a call as Rachel wanders out into the woods to practice her lines. As she fakes screams, she then sees the piranha.
So close a call offers no solace in victory.
We ought to consider this a lesson.
Stop to look
this is what befalls one who lets down their
heads deeper
guard.
into the jungle as he cuts her off, and she just sort of sits there. There are 2 of these things now. So we've seen these things several times, which brings into question several points. First and foremost, this doesn't make any sense.
Ideas as to how we might reach
later,
it?
like the professor considered
I enjoy tackling fierce foes and prefer combat's thrills to gathering items. I am confident.
And as we will see, there are piranhas in the stream and snakes, but it still would not explain the size of creatures. To establish our first basis, we need to discuss the size of the snake for a moment. Phrasing. The only thing even remotely comparable to this creature would be everyone's favorite nightmare fuel, Titanoboa. This snake, while having evolved after the extinction of the dinosaurs, typically ate lungfish as well as other snakes, crocodiles, turtles, birds, and any mammal that was dumb or unlucky enough to cross its path. Thankfully, Homo sapiens probably would have no interaction with these things, because we weren't really hanging out during this time. But still, absolute nightmare. Titanoboa is hypothesized based on skeletons to have been roughly around 43 feet long, around 13 meters, and weigh somewhere about 1.25 tons, or around 1,135 kilograms. This absolute behemoth of a snake could very likely swallow you entirely in one fell swoop, with very little issue if you were to run across it. But even as powerful as this creature was, it had one critical flaw that all snakes have. Their inability to regulate.
We're unlikely to find any warm hearths
during
down
the time frame that Titanoboa
Tread
actually
carefully.
lived, temperatures across
One
the planet
never
were
can
roughly
be
about
too
2 degrees Fahrenheit warmer.
By your goblins, master!
That's why itself
We have no means of exploiting our enemy's weakness. I grant you roaring flame.
This would seem to indicate that parts of going on the snake heights reached. We'll talk about here momentarily when we get to talk about hybrid animals. Over being, I'm assuming, the same minivan from earlier. Wrong. Stuntboy then starts talking to Gunner about the concussive force detonators. The director says they are shutting down the project as the studio has backed out. This movie feels like it was just a cover so that a bunch of people could go to Hawaii and potentially launder some money. Which actually, this is literally what Adam
fine
Sandler
place
does.
to harvest
That's the money
some
laundering,
ingredients.
so don't get sued, but
No harm
he
in
gets his
digging a
friends
few.
together, goes and makes a movie in some paradise, and then they get millions of dollars and call it a day. That's the literal dream. So the dude from earlier has his girlfriend
Danger
Ingrid
might lurk
now,
anywhere.
and the girlfriend, of course, being blonde.
Where
victim
every
number
shadow.
5. He says
mind
that
the
they're
ceiling.
going to head to the north side
Remain
of the
alert,
island that is
and naught shall
uninhabited.
catch us by
And I don't really know
surprise.
much enough about Hawaii to make a statement on if that's true or not. So someone from Hawaii, is that like for real? So driving away from the studio, they come across something that they have never seen before, a black Jeep. The wish expendable from earlier is working on this Jeep, as force multiplier on them to sight moves an ambush. As the phase plan then lines them up, they randomly fire a shot at his director's foot. Bro, I mean, it's a little over the top. Like, he didn't even do anything. So, okay, one of the things you should know is this guy's accent has changed like 4 times in this movie. He starts spouting off about how they work for a movie studio and nice and rich, so, yeah, they're just getting out.
The magic superstone.
That's what we got here. Good luck with that, y'all. It's Hawaii. It's not a lawless wasteland. So Gunner then throws some blaster caps to the ground that scares the kidnappers as he and the stuntmen heroically make a break. You see, they aren't retreating, they're simply advancing in another direction, leaving the women and wounded behind. Heroic AF. Meanwhile, the dynamic duo
too many
are
materials.
I'll
harvest some now.
Relatively close to them. Stuntman and Gunner then split up as Space Plan continues to go after them. Gunner then hits one dude in the head with a stick. What an absolute Chad. As the other guy randomly fires into the water on the stuntman. Luckily, though, Broniconda takes him out as he's blood-clouded as well. So the couple continues walking as they hear something, but just decide to completely ignore it. So she commits assault for like the 2nd time. As then we move back over to Timu Cartel. They ask where the other guy in their group went, as they decide to then take their hostages to see their boss. I actually have the shirt that inferior team lead here is wearing. And as he checks the camera, he sees the creature back over the couple. Wait, did this woman really wear heels on a hike? I mean, admirable, I suppose. So they run out to the water, almost guaranteed to get frisky on the beach, which in theory sounds like a great idea, right? In practice, it's horrible. Sand gets everywhere, and into everything, and it's coarse. And I don't like sand. But back over at the cartel hidey hole, they then hand their boss the camera as team lead tries to tell them about what they saw. The boss then takes the handheld and pistol whips the man in the face, which is kind of crappy. The beatings will continue until morale improves. Back over the beach, the subplot of the couple is highly important, I assure you. The guy then gets up to go pee, and she goes back out to the water. Being on a tree, he hears growling, and turning around, he's blood-clouded as well. This movie is a fever dream. And again, how did this thing not see her? She was like 4 steps away. This creature works
Let my magic drawn to an elemental being.
and out of time. So as a little bit of
I cannot fault your prowess.
I can do no less in service to the
Back over
original.
the factory, they bring in the others, the professors. The professor makes this weird comment. Why? Why did you say this? Nobody knows. They are complete strangers to you, my brother Christ. But they kept showing superior team at the beginning of the movie, which greatly disturbs everyone, myself included. They literally just shot at the beginning of the movie. So they see
You are in need of
creatures as
healing.
well,
Allow
and
me.
how it just
Wait a
face them
moment.
do. They realize the professor is telling the truth as they watch it for the 3rd time as team lead runs out at this point. Going too far, he then pulls out a container, which the jello has the egg in it. As American Eagle shirt suggests, Ronnie, and Anaconda, as he's directed. One victim number 6 calls it a Anaconda. Stuntman now approaches the white man and over. Gunner shows up and says they took the distributor cap. Bro, they did not take the distributor cap. The distributor cap's got, like, started being phased out 40 years ago at this point. Modern cars do not have distributor caps. I love this. Stuntman then rightly deduces as they follow the tracks that they're looking for trouble. He informs Gunner about the things that he has never heard of.
Tremendous
Or has never then plans on coming
Let's
back to
say-
everything he's got. Or just call the cops. I don't know. I feel like they would probably show up to this area. Over at a factory, completely unguarded, they then talk about how MGM bought their studio. They have deep pockets. And I felt that, because they copyright hit me every chance they get. $10 says, I don't even know
For
if
greater
MGM owns
precision with our
this,
next attempt.
but they're going to hit this video because I brought it up. So canonically speaking, I would be paying part of their ransom. I'm doing my part. Rose then starts asking the professor about what he's doing here in the first place as he starts talking about the oil company his dad worked for and how they went into the jungle and then never came out. A tour group then disappeared 2 weeks ago, which caught his attention. He says something is in the river as blonde victim number 3 asks, just completely dead-faced, are you on crack?
That's
Like
so
an actual
fucking heavy.
real reaction to this news. That was like, that's not acting. Or maybe that's how good her acting is. I don't know. So the film crew is then brought out to the surface as Lizard Man is left in the hidey hole. They're filming the group to show that they are still alive. Luckily, Team Lead has a very distinguishable beard that would be easily recognizable, so you typically don't want facial hair when you record these things, I would assume. I don't record these things. Also, once again, I have to stress, Hawaii isn't a lawless wasteland. What is happening here? So Rose then says that she has to go pee as she and American Eagle walk off. She then makes a pass at the dude for promised safety. It's one of the 3 F's in terms of dealing with dangerous situations. You have fight, freeze, and fawn. It's fawn. So she knees him in the crotch as she runs off, and it was all a ruse to go with the first step, which is fight. The random dude with a machete wearing a mask then goes after her. Picking Death Creek in which to run wouldn't have been more intelligent to probably stick to the bank. But as she has a nice pry while running, she then hides, but she kind of then runs off from the hiding spot. It was probably a pretty good spot. What are you doing? So as he continues to chase, Rose has the stamina of a newborn turtle, but somehow the dude just keeps catching up with her, even though he's like lumbering and cutting down everything in his path. She ends up falling and realizing that she's surrounded by eggs. Now, something to know about this, which is just an interesting factoid for you, only about 70% of snakes actually lay eggs. The other 30% typically reside in colder climates, and as a result, the eggs really would not survive those temperatures, which is why they give live birth. Now, this is Hawaii, so it would stand to reason the piranha could evolutionarily be predispositioned towards laying eggs due to the higher temperatures because it is closer to the equator. But again, I have to stress, these temperatures are not high enough for this creature to naturally exist or even survive in the first place at the size that it is, because what is it eating that would provide enough nutrition for this thing to get as big as it is? So, while that stupid chase is going on, Team Lead is getting his beard shaved and also insulting blonde victim number 6, who's holding a knife to his neck. Good thinking, brother. Operation cannot possibly go wrong a second time. Engaged. So he then starts
We cannot
making out
expect
with her
gleaming
as
treasures round every corner.
Inferior Team Lead calls Superior Team Lead to tell him Rose escaped. Meanwhile, Rose is touching the eggs, the gross eggs, rather than running and just kind of wiping it on herself. I don't know what's happening. Stop that. But as she lays there, Piranha shows up and immediately blood clouds the guy chasing her. So Rose with the nice strength to run away, somehow outrunning this thing, which makes no sense. And then back over at Paradise Camp, Rose comes running back to the squad, telling them that the thing is out there. You could literally have just run anywhere else. You outran this thing, so why back to them?
As a matter of fact, curious thing, one of my former masters chose to hire only women.
As the real hero,
I wonder why.
According to my prediction,
Each to their own.
So, Inferior Team Lead then throws Rose back into the factory as she confirms there is something else out there. The professor says, it's an evolutionary line jump, a mutation that seems to have happened to go here. Yes, that totally makes sense. Usually mutations like this.
I grant you fire flame.
Credit, but I sound like that. Japanese.
No one can defend themselves when crafted like this.
And he suggests maybe it's the hiding. Rose can pull some poo off her chest. Wait, no, you two bots. It's not what you. Alright, so this genetic line jumper question, what exactly does that mean? Well, for starters, clearly there are several differences with Piranha that are not the same natural comparison to snakes. First, the size of starters. The creature is much larger than what should naturally be allowed. As this will not support the size of the sample along with population changes. It's going to involve a few bits to put together. That, look, I'm not going to sit here and insult your intelligence. You're pretty smart. None of this would make any sense. Bear with me. It's all for fun. The movie is for fun. Something to note about Piranha's is that notice how there is nothing to suggest that they are actually established species or rivers. So the unique circumstances involves potential. Piranha are a unique species, much like any fish, the female related to roughly 5,000 years of water, to then fertilized by a male in the open. This is the critical point where I believe potentially a crossover fertilization event must have happened in the past. Piranhas are known to mate between the months of December and March, or essentially the rainy seasons. There is a small window of overlap between the points when snakes mate and piranhas mate. This causes them to potentially have an interaction inadvertently due to proximity. Of course, snakes will typically try to mate during spring, especially in colder climates, because they're both
Here we go again.
that two snakes may have been getting a very gates. Piranhas were theirs. At some point, another material
Here, strike lightning on the side.
Hey, there is fertilization of animals.
Most impressive, Master.
Our foe is not yet routed. Hard. Be sure to avoid the
Thank you, Arisen.
The result is the same. Salvo never has the first place, or that's not violation.
My curative magics are at your disposal. Wait right there.
Differentiation. Strangely enough, turns out you need two of the same species of provide information necessary. And think about reading a recipe, right? Every other word is provided, so to speak, to the parent. So, one, up, two, down, three, up. This goes so on and so forth. This guides the self differentiate function.
Should be able to move this boulder with our combined might.
And the other's a ball.
Would anyone care to
the
push?
words are telling the cell all the application, but every other word is different, and it just creates this gibberish. As a result, the zygote would never even survive. It's also possible the sperm might not be able to break through the egg wall. But there are some crossovers to this, however, and it's usually with species that are linked. Think genetically, they are close enough.
No
to
few times has an
create
overconfident step soaked my boots.
Somebody said Zedon one time.
I expect that's a common occurrence in our line of work.
Or a tiger and a lion. Genetically, they are close enough to create a massive animal known as a liger, which is bigger than both parents. The ligers, however, are typically sterile from what we have found as meiosis, a complicated process, and the sex cells are rendered non-functional as a result. Remember, mitosis are for somatic cells. Those are meiosis are for sex cells. Those are sperm and eggs. You think it would be the other way around, like, you know.
A fine place to harvest some ingredients.
I know, it's weird, right? Well,
Shall we see if there's ought to be found while we're here?
To somebody else, so meiosis. It's a good way to look at it. All right, perfect. Yes, remember that. You're passing along genetic meiosis. All right. Well, what do I want to focus on, however, is basically the idea of how much larger the animal is, and you can kind of see where I'm going with this. To this end, we need to know if there are snakes in Hawaii, which natively know there are not. However, snakes are brought in from time to time by humans, which is what
out of the cave at last.
Further than the war taking place in the Everglades right now.
Take their toll on the spirit.
Alligators were top predators.
You have my support.
Eating one another because after someone released a few of these pythons out there several decades ago, it's been an issue ever since. Ergo, it's not too far-fetched to think that this could happen with an anaconda. Why? Someone simply had a few of these snakes, they became too large, potentially even reaching their maximum size of 30 feet or 9 meters. They then established themselves within the rivers, which is what anacondas do in the first place, which would then track potentially with how the fertilization event may have happened in the first place between a piranha egg and an anaconda. Now, again, as far as we know, snakes are not able to reproduce with fish. And look, again, I'm really trying here, but the viability of this creature is a major concern. The only thing that would even make remote sense is if this is somehow just a gigantic species on its own, and it is consistent with piranhas, and then for some reason mimicry was inspired in it, and it was able to take on some of the traits naturally, not through reproduction, but just by its own genes changing, again, through mimicry. In fact, you see this, I believe it's with red, black, and yellow snake, and then the yellow, red, and black snake, like the coral snake, and I'm forgetting the other snake's name. Can you put it up on screen, editor, of like those two? Basically, it's mimicry. They look the same, but they're not the same. So, also, how these things
we have found a material.
Only goes so far.
I'm sure we'll find a purpose for it in due time.
Cannot exist. Why? Once again, apart from the various created, genetics, as mentioned, will not line up, so this cannot happen. Screw it. We're doing it live. On the egg being fertilized, let's pretend not only could it survive, but now there is coding for two sets of genes that are talking about essentially the way, what it's supposed to look like, and how large it is. This is congruent coding, and it may push for the anaconda 30 feet to get the maximum. Its length is typically that, housed within the anaconda genes, to well over 50 feet, given that the piranha coding may be impacting this difference.
You are in need of healing. Allow me.
Building off one another,
Wait a
this
moment.
pushes the snake to be much larger than normal. Along with that resulting in traits in its head. Because remember, the lion and the tiger, how's the liger bigger
wager
than
there's
both?
ought to be found.
It seems they bear us ill will.
We have no means of exploiting our enemy's weakness.
But back to its head. This is resulting in being similar to a snake. This is created
I grant you lightning spans.
that may also influence its patterns of nature. As we all know, snakes are typically not majorly aggressive or the lion or prey. They will hunt until they tend to aid its enemy. Quite aggressive. Display anaconda. As the name suggests, this creature would be able to vote, and not just a red reputation, as suggested by the professor. The reasoning is, how would traits even form. If it was just one genetic
One
trait,
might confidently
that
call
makes
that
sense.
a
But
resounding
two genetic
victory.
traits, that's
We mustn't
establishing
allow
population
ourselves to become
traits being passed
complacent.
down. Quite a
Take
system.
each trial as a...
How are
So
we
now
to
the
get
legal
through this
chases.
door?
So Stuntman then straight up breaks a dude's neck, good lord, or Marine, I suppose, as Gunner then runs around the city charges as Stuntman starts just taking out dudes alerting both superior and inferior team lead. Stuntman then starts stacking bodies left, right, and center as Rose is super jazzed to see him. We might need to explain the goo on her chest thing later, but Gunner then runs.
This seems
to
a decent
the
spot for a
right minivan,
campsite.
as they still
Surely
have
a
the
rest
little
can
rights
wait
to it
till
for the
after we've
weekend
examined our
as they try to make
surroundings.
their escape. Stuntman then calls them SUVs for some reason. We're like, look, third gen Forerunner is an SUV. Those are minivans. Milo then says that he will sacrifice himself because his foot is hurt. Grudges me. Which dude for like 4 seconds. He's been walking the whole time. He didn't, like, as the attack starts, he runs out of cover to attack. Bro, you could have just joined him. So now a ton of team members come out of nowhere.
The day grows darker with our every step.
We shall have to rely on our other senses as the darkness robs
totally
us of our
natural
sight.
and real as everyone's face shows its generalized boredom and malaise as blonde victim number 6 gets bitten in half as Gunner gets hit around. So rather than check on him, Stuntman just nopes out of there with Veronica hot on their tail while the superior team lead chases them in a four-wheel. The professor tells them what they just saw the whole time. It's a hyper-accelerated growth tree. Seriously, I don't know. Maybe some of the adjectives to describe this thing are just throwing me off. We are a professor of herpetology, so if you have like something in your arsenal about like the snake growth pattern, I don't know why I said Sean Connery, and it doesn't matter. So, yes, that's really going to explain what's on their tail. Now, maybe the van also appears to be outpacing this thing, and they keep talking about it chasing them,
To the chest.
and you don't even see it in the background.
I shall take a look
Like,
inside.
did they forget to render it in? I don't know. Oh, but there it is, sort of. The stuntman then is required to stop as it moves in front of him. So, with it just sort of sitting there, Superior Team Lead then shows up. Grabbing, I mean, what is that? According to my Call of Duty knowledge, I think it's a LAW.
At once, Master.
Somebody's going to tell me what that actually is in the comments. He hits the Piranaconda, injuring it, and as it's injured, the other one comes up and just attacks it. Alright then, I'm going to assume this aggression comes from the piranha genetics, as during a feeding frenzy, it is known that piranha will actually bite one another by accident, and once blood is tasted, they will start to devour each other as a result. Friends like these, am I right? Anyhow, the minivan is almost out of gas as well. As it does run out of gas, they realize a bullet has hit the tank. The professor then talks about the marina out in the jungle, but they need to follow the river south. Back over at the evil version of the Wish Expendables, they agree to go after everyone now because the monster is allegedly gone. Superior Team Lead ignores Inferior Team Lead as they agree to continue their hunt. Meanwhile, the director has started his walk out of the area because he's like, oh, well, I guess I survived. I'm pretty sure there were people still, like, firing on him, right? But as he looks up, he smiles. Seeing the girl on the beach from earlier, we know that her boyfriend or husband or whatever is gone as she calls him on the phone, and you have got to be kidding me. It is the same ringtone from Jurassic Park 3 when the Spinosaurus, like, ate that guy and it's in his stomach, like. So she hangs up the phone as Mr. Director comes hobbling out. She asks what happened to him as he tells her he hurt his foot. So the director then explains to her, it's not the jungle eating people, it's a creature. The woman is wearing wedges
It is
on the
dark
beach
enough
again,
to
as
warrant
she tells
the use
him,
of your
"You need
lantern,
help."
Master.
I think you both might know. So she runs off looking for her boyfriend as he follows after her. Heading into the jungle, she keeps calling him as unsettling music.
Now
plays,
here's a surprise.
Our collection
Wait a minute.
Barely see it, but it's totally there. It's a rock. So Stuntman then gives Rose some shirts and they can pop the guns out.
Let my magic imbue your weapon with the fury of the elements.
Totally getting demonetized for saying it. So as every couple then finds her eggs, for some reason the director starts popping. So she enters the nest intelligently starts looking around. The predator tries to tell her as the problem is, as he tells her it's the nest, almost overnight, she figures it out as eventually she starts breaking eggs. I mean, hell yeah. The director then gets a lot of that scene. She goes to turn the paper of an eye and just indignant out. Meanwhile, Team Dehydration over here is looking for lost Team Dehydration is getting stopped from water. The team leader telling me like brother.
holy are our best bet against this foe.
He says,
Then we know what must needs be done.
I'm going to make up for everything bad we've ever done to make it out of this Rose luck. That's a lot. And the most just dead cat reaction every time in the movie. She's just, bitch. Hey, I was spit out some water and I was drinking it. Okay, it was nylon. I find clothes. So, just like Professor Flynn is discovered that he has an egg on him. This is a kinetic reflex, which is suspect. Stuntman says that he would go back to the minivan and see Rose no doubt leaving one into the tree behind his Professor Ross. As Stuntman gets the trap together to board the car,
take care where you place your feet. Sharp incline is as likely to throw us off balance as it is our enemy.
As they took out the only one who ever blood, which was the which left back, and somehow taking out these people they lost the city. So, yes, this seems like a totally different statement, and not the remnants of Madman at all. So, as they say, there's nothing, but there it is. There's definitely something. Also, they all saw.
I believe John Foe is born to light. We ought to extinguish our lanterns lest we summon him from water.
The other Veronica when that was alive had much more yellow in his hand. This professor then goes and grabs the egg and runs off from huge canoe as one victim number 3 into the van. The clear team lead that gets into the team lead is next. One victim number 3 grabs the concussive force detonator as the Veronica begins crushing the van before blood
pushing your luck.
Bro. So one guy then got spit up somehow, always stolen and looks terrible. So at this point, Stuntman and Rose run. He tells her to get to the boat as Rose then grabs his finger car, or at least near it. I'm sure that feels amazing.
I'll take that.
Then she runs off to the dock.
We might find a
Professor
use for it.
There as well. Rose then arrives in time to see him slowly starting the boat as she tells him to wait, as she says one victim number 3 didn't make it, as the professor says, looks like Stuntman did this well, because I hear a growl. So, heading down the river is once again our piranha. So I kind of feel like this thing can swim.
Hang in there, Master. I'm coming to assist.
As she grabs the concussive force detonator and quad. The professor then tells her to hold on tight as he can feel the snake is near. I mean, first, phrasing, but they're not really going that fast. And indeed, it is under the water chasing. She then asks why it's following them. Well, it could be the egg in his bag again, I suppose. But Rose then pulls it out, and it just becomes like the slowest, most low-energy game of keep away I have ever seen in my life. The professor says humans are a cheap commodity. Veronica is, as he gloats about having grabbed the egg that she's still currently holding. She then turns the wheel once she loses it, and then just it knocks him over, but not much apart from that. Like, this whole interaction, just I can't even explain. So as the professor looks over to find the egg, because I guess it fell into the water, Rose pushes him into the water as the Veronica shows up. She grabs the egg out of the water and then leaves him behind as he screams, "Hey!" and then is eaten. I'm assuming she headed back up the river. Meanwhile, Stuntman Extraordinaire somehow runs into Rose, who's now off the boat, as then they nope out of there. Getting on the main road, you can literally see a tour bus in the background. Guess we couldn't do this in 2 shots, could we? So they abandon the quad and then head to the waterfall. As they stand there, it comes up out of the water, growling at them. Stuntman then shows it the egg as they put a concussive force detonator in it, as then they jump in and blow the head off the Piranha. There's still another one, I think. Like, that wasn't even the same one that was attacking y'all earlier. See, it's more yellow. So as they make out, trauma bonded, as all seems well, as they're ready to start their lives together, and they're quickly eaten by the second one, as I knew it was there. Man, I'm good. It does conclude.
We should be able to move this
whatever I've been doing for the last half hour or an hour and a half, yes. Piranha is one of the most insane things I've ever seen. Biologically, it can't exist, but for the sake of argument, it just does. This would possibly imply that genetically piranhas and anacondas are at least somewhat compatible concerning their genetics, resulting in typically what can be seen as a hybrid animal being much larger. The traits of each donating parent are clearly displayed, and this is present in the new creature as well, but it's completely different from both its parents. What I find most interesting is that this cannot be the first generation. As they mentioned in the movie, these things appear to have been in folklore for quite some time and then go quiet. This would seem to suggest that potentially a long time ago, when the genetics maybe were more compatible, there was a split that wasn't too far along. And this may have led to basically an interbreeding event, and then for 50 years at a time, they just kind of go quiet and hybrid. But this would then totally take humans out of the equation as the ones who supplied the anaconda, so not our fault. Overall, this makes no sense, but thank you for bearing with me through this thought experiment. And for that, I want to thank you guys, and I want to hear what you guys think. What did you think about this abomination? I think it's probably just a snake with like 3 traits, but even if that would not explain the size that it is, I'll drop my Twitter, Discord, Patreon, road until 10 Cosmonauts that allegedly appear brothers from the radios of the Speaking of patrons, I think that first, huge thank you to our astrophysicist and guest dancer, as well as our scientists, Chad the Enjoyer of Scientific Expedition, 4 movies, Number 23, Jax, Lucian Dragon, entry system, and trash management. The rest of my patrons, I appreciate you guys as well. Your help goes a long way towards keeping this channel running. It's greatly appreciated. But that's going to do it for me. I hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time.
Please subscribe and flavors. Follow your path.
You are in need of
Easy
healing.
Max
Allow me.
7%.
Wait a moment.
Alrighty, gentlemen. Yesterday we beat the tutorial, as people say, and now we're playing the expansion. I played a bit last night. I obviously didn't make any progress in the base game. I didn't make any progress in the game because I wanted to make sure that everybody saw everything new, or everything first time. However, I did farm out some bosses and I did some other
I can
things.
proceed no further.
I want to go ahead and show you guys what I did. So if you look at my deliveries, I've completed almost every single delivery that I have,
There's no need of
minus a handful of them. I haven't done this because I don't have the insect thing. And so, yep, there it is, new axe. No, this is the same weapon that I have. Yeah, this is it, I'm good. And then also we got, let's see, I need to figure out how to unlock other cultivations.
Look out, Provision!
You guys, like, help me, like, how do I unlock a new cultivation? Quests? Optional quests, okay. Post a new quest. Low rank, optional quest.
Focus your attack.
It's not this one, is it? Because this one was such a pain in the ass.
Of course. This foe is beyond our strength.
That's Canteen? Oh, thank God. Okay. And so I did all of these. I need to do these here. NPC names. I'm not sure where I'm looking for them. The top one?
Of heedlessness.
This one here? Okay, let's do it right now. Bottom right. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to that. Botanist as client. Okay.
It seems we have embraced our foe.
Let's go down this way. So, I need to get cactuses. How do I do that? Do I just have to run around and find them? Oh, there's a cactus. Okay, I got one. That's okay. This is easy. I'm just gonna do more of these and I'm done. I'm not gonna do a whole lot of this stuff. I want to actually make more progress today. But last night I did do a lot of stuff. Now, I don't think I can track cactuses. You can? Okay, I'll go to the map then.
Guys, this game just released and you can download it right now. Check out.
Just yonder looks to be a good spot for harvesting ingredients.
Shall we see if there's aught to be found while we're here?
There, Master! Saurian!
Fire is not its weakness, but its strength. Well done.
By magic, imbue your weapon with the fury of the elements.
I did my best to match your skill, Master.
One of us is being drenched! That was well fought. There's no one standing who might say otherwise.
Overconfidence is an enemy in and of itself. Let us instead strive to better ourselves with every battle.
Not bad.
I can do no less in service to the Arisen.
I concur.
You are in need of healing. Allow me. Wait right there.
We've got goblins!
We have no means of exploiting our enemy's weakness. The fire must be put out ere our comrade learns. You are in need of healing. Allow me. Wait right there. Let my magic imbue your weapon with the fury of the elements.
Just yonder looks to be a good spot for harvesting ingredients.
No harm in picking a few.
That was well fought. There's no one standing who might say otherwise.
Well, we've eaten our fill. What say we settle our stomachs with a few hours' sleep? Pray, allow me to open yon chest.
An impressive view. We can infer much of the lay of the land from here.
'Twould be a good place to take stock of our surroundings.
Right you are. One never can have too many of these.
Let us take care when and how we put them to use.
A treasure chest. Shall we see if we can't make our way over to it? I'd wager our merry band can handle whatever comes.
Capable comrades are a boon indeed.
Right you are.
I grant you lightning spans.
I would have preferred not to have to fight so soon, but at least I know I am up to the challenge. An ox cart ought to make our journey easier.
Walking everywhere is certainly tiring.
That's it! I've had enough! Clear off! And don't come back till you're ready to do business properly!
But I've got the coin, I swear it. I simply just...
Where is it then, eh? Bring the coin, all of it, or I'll call the cent...
'Tis uncommon for a lad of his age to be unable to shop on his own. Mayhap we ought to lend him a hand, Master.
Oh, 'tis you. You're a welcome. Forgive my boldness, but would you be willing to lend me some gold? I swear you'll be repaid in full. A trinket in yon shop caught my eye. A small, ornate... Alas, 'twould seem I do not have the coin. I can certainly procure the gold late, if you'd be kind enough to lend me the amount I... Yes? Is there aught I can do for you? Or... Are you sure? Oh, many thanks.
Not you again. I thought I made...
Ah, but I've brought the gold this time.
Oh, well...
My thanks. I finally have what I came for, and worry...
He seems a young man of decent character. I believe his promise to repay you was a genuine one. I've just recalled a little tidbit I heard from the locals.
Regarding the Vermundian military, yes?
Indeed. Tell is, there's been a shift in the chain of command.
Well met. You are come. You will soon forget the fatigue of a long journey when treated to the foremost hospitality in all Vernworth. Much obliged.
This inspires more misgivings. Oh, what does this say?
Shall we take a closer look?
Good tidings, sir. How fares your retrieval of those plundered weapons? Will that be all, then? Let me see. What else can I tell you of our guild? Have you found any of the items we discussed, perchance? Methinks Roderick will be able to he runs the local armory. May fortune smile upon you, sir. Do come again.
Well met. You are come to Shakir's Inn, a place of respite. You will soon forget the fatigue of a long journey when treated to the foremost hospitality in all Vernworth. Much obliged.
Good tidings, sir. How fares your retrieval of those plundered weapons? Oh-ho! You have most excellent. You may now change your vocation. However, if you wish to register as a warrior instead, you will need to acquire a... Good tidings, sir. How fares your retrieval of those plundered weapons? Marvelous. You may now change your vocation as... What's more, I bear glad tidings.
Might we not complete our delivery while we're here?
We need only pass our burden into the hands that await it.
I quite agree.
Have you business with the guild, sir? I should be glad to assist you. Always a pleasure. Welcome. Welcome.
Well met. You will soon forget the fatigue of a long journey when treated to the full... Most hospitality in all Vernworth. You know where to find.
There's a ladder.
Ah, excellent find.
I suppose I could indulge you. Life's best taken at a leisurely pace.
That looks promising. Any ideas as to how we might reach it?
This note I love more than a saucy rumour.
Look, as long as you think
What's got you in such a good mood? Do tell.
We must rest, though the sun is still up.
The sun may have fallen, but the day is far from over.
Shall we check our packs and be off?
Ready to forge on?
Mayhap I ought to ask around town. I've got the show.
Your Majesty, your timing is impeccable. I just thought to call for you. 'Tis not a matter for prying ears. Pray, let us speak out here. As I informed you when last we spoke, the palace is filled. Should Disa denounce your Majesty as a false arisen, few would elect to doubt her. Yet if we are to prove your identity, I believe there is no occasion more suitable. It was delayed so that the sovereign, that is, the false arisen, could come. The central players in the court ought all be in attendance. None would be able to deny that you are the true arisen then. There is only select members of the nobility and citizens who, if your Majesty is to be counted among them, you will need to attend to a number of tasks. The citizenry have called upon my soldiers to cull monsters that plague the land. What say you? Might I ask for your call? I thank you, your Majesty. There are 3 locales that have seen significant trouble of late. The first is Trevo Mine, to the north. Next is Half Village, west of Burnworth. Finally, there is a call for someone to locate a group of soldiers tasked with delivering freight.
There is no shortage of beasts that need culling in this world.
There is much we ought to tend to, if we are to strengthen your Majesty's claim as a true arisen. Of all those who serve the Queen Regent, there is but one who I have no doubt will lend his support to your Majesty's cause. I refer to Waldar, a magistrate. Many a time as Disa demanded Waldor amend, and many a time as the magistrate refused her. For he is loyal to none but the spirit of the law. Our laws dictate that your majesty is our rightful thus. As the staunchest supporter of the law known to the palace, I'm quite... What say you? Might you be willing to aid me in arranging... I prepared a means for you to enter the palace dungeons. This mission demands the utmost. Should you be discovered, I will be... There is much we ought to tend to. If we are to strengthen your majesty's claim, you will need to infiltrate the palace to gather evidence of Disa's misdeeds. I hesitate to ask something so dangerous of you. I have attempted to do the same through my own channels for now. Though, I would that I could undertake the task myself. But my station... What say you, your majesty? Might I ask this time? I shall ensure that the door to the Queen Regent's office is open between midnight and dawn. Pray use that time to conduct your investigation. There is much we ought to tend to. If we are to strengthen, do not forget that we work to serve the citizens.
This really is fine craftsmanship. This ladder looks sturdy enough to climb.
Come take a look. You'll be glad you did. Always a pleasure.
Our packs are heavier, and our purses far lighter.
Oh, yes? I possess no ill intent, I assure you. I merely wished for a closer look. Those of other races differ so in design from our own, you see. That's all 'tis, mind, curiosity. And even if I did, it isn't as if, no matter how they fascinate me, it isn't to be.
Welcome to Bjorn's Art, and quality is what you need if you want to survive. So if we... Check the price, just remember. Many thanks. I appreciate the business. I'll not take that from you. Fancy a look at my wares?